Dr. Kelly Vaughan, and I'm a Senior Marketing Scientist at the Ehrenberg-Bass Institute for Marketing Science.
And I'm Alicia. I'm a Marketing Scientist at the Ehrenberg-Bass Institute, and we're here today to answer some questions about retention and acquisition.
Question 1. What are some of the major changes that Ehrenberg-Bass is seeing in both consumer behaviour and marketing choices post-COVID? Unsurprisingly, we've seen consumer behaviour in line with what we would expect based on the known marketing law-like patterns. With the restrictions of lockdowns around the world, naturally there has been an increase in people buying online. However, ultimately, mental and physical availability patterns have still prevailed. In particular, we saw this when panic buying and stockouts were experienced. Consumer behaviour was largely influenced by what was physically available, with consumers first buying the bigger brands, which had greater mental availability. As these bigger brands became out of stock, the buying trickled down to the less well-known brands to fulfill their category needs. In terms of marketing choices, we have seen some change with brands choosing to allocate more spend to digital. Furthermore, evidence from previous recessions show that maintaining existing media spend is actually recommended. We saw that brands who carried on advertising were able to maintain mental availability compared to brands who stopped or reduced spending during the same period.
Number 2. Double Jeopardy law illustrates that brands should focus on acquiring non-customers rather than increasing retention or reducing defection of current customers. But most brands invest in both, so what's the ideal balance? So when we think about loyalty versus acquisition, marketers often consider these as two separate levers on a big marketing machine. So one lever is an acquisition lever that increases the penetration of non-customers buying our brand, and the other lever is a loyalty lever. This retains customers or reduces the number of customers that defect from our brand. The Double Jeopardy law shows that pulling the loyalty lever more than the acquisition lever will not have a significant impact on growth. This is because loyalty is shown to be a function of brand size, and no matter how many resources you put into loyalty tactics, it will be challenging to get current customers to buy more of a product or service than they actually need. Pulling the acquisition lever more than the loyalty lever is shown to be much more impactful for growth, as it's far easier to get many customers to buy you once. So for example, we will probably find it a much easier process to get 10 people to buy 1 box of cereal than 1 person to buy 10 boxes. So what's the ideal balance between both? Well, this thinking assumes that there are specific activities that retain customers and specific activities that acquire customers, or in other words, the levers are independent of each other. However, focusing on acquisition by, for example, creating a TV advert will reach both current customers and non-customers of your brand. If it's well branded, it will help to establish memory structures in non-customers, while also reminding your current customers that your brand exists, hereby helping to retain them by increasing the propensity that they will remember you the next time you buy from the category. On the other hand, focusing on your existing buyers, like through loyalty programs or having discounts for bulk purchases, is more likely to only affect your current buyers, with no or minimal impact to the majority of non-buyers out there. So from Double Jeopardy and a great deal of other research on consumer behaviour, we know that the best strategy is actually to focus on acquisition strategies that aim to increase the number of non-customers buying your brand, as retention will follow on from these tactics. So question number 3, what does loyalty look like across different contexts? So loyalty looks different depending on the type of market that you're competing in. So in repertoire markets, which are usually general consumer packaged goods categories like cereal or dog food, loyalty appears more polygamous in nature. And we call these categories repertoire markets as people generally buy from a variety of brands within each category for various different reasons. So for example, due to stockouts or deficits in mental and or physical availability, etc. And because people are buying different brands, loyalty to any given brand is quite low, and this varies in line with brand size. Alternatively, subscription markets, such as car insurance, more commonly show monogamous loyalty due to the nature of the categories. So for example, most people generally only have 1 car insurance contract or 1 mobile phone provider, and it's harder to switch between brands like you can in repertoire markets, and so these categories generally show higher rates of sold loyalty. There are occasional oddities like niche brands in consumer packaged goods markets that show higher rates of loyalty than we would expect for their brand size. However, these are more likely explainable through other knowledge related to the laws. So in the case of niche brands, it may be that they are localized to certain distribution networks or different geographical areas. But overall, These general patterns in repertoire and subscription markets are seen across many different conditions and are well documented.
Question 4. Marketing activities typically build and refresh mental availability of the brand for all category buyers, if reach allows. What are some effective approaches that brands can take to boost mental availability that benefit both acquisition and retention? Mental availability is a propensity of a brand to be noticed or thought of in buying situations. This propensity is a chance, and even for brands' existing customers, it is not a guarantee that they will think of or notice you at the next buying occasion. Therefore, category users need to be reminded of the brand through advertising and other marketing activities. Critically, we cannot know when each individual will next buy from the category, so brands need to ensure these reminders are consistent throughout the year with few silent periods where the brand is off air. Ultimately, we want to reach potential category users close to their next purchase occasion to increase the mental availability of the brand to be thought of or noticed. These may be your existing brand buyers and also your non-buyers. But the key difference is that a brand's users are more likely to notice your marketing efforts. So it's imperative that everything is well branded so that a brand's users and the many non-users can link the touch point to the brand, as otherwise it may not be as effective in building the brand's mental availability. Question 5. What are some of the common pitfalls brands have when finding the right balance between acquisition and retention? How can they avoid these? A common pitfall for brands is assuming acquisition and retention tactics are mutually exclusive activities. We recommend a focus on acquisition as a priority. This is because most tactics aimed at acquisition can also work to retain existing customers too. More importantly, empirical evidence shows that brand growth is linked to acquisition and not retention. Research shows growing brands acquire more category buyers than necessary to replace customer defections, whereas declining brands fail to acquire enough category buyers to replace defections. This means a focus on retention does not help brands grow, nor does it stop brands declining, whereas acquisition has the ability to do both. It also helps to consider defecting buyers are not defecting forever. They may not have purchased your brand in the current purchase cycle, but can be nudged to return to your brand at the next purchase occasion. By and large, these buyers are just ultralight buyers rather than brand rejectors. The implications of this are brands need to ensure their advertising and marketing efforts aim to reach as many category buyers as possible. A focus on retention will lead to a much narrower target market, which is focused on reaching existing customers and relying on heavy buyers. This approach neglects the large pool of non-buyers all brands have, even the biggest brands. This group is critical for growth, and marketing efforts should be focused on acquisition with an aim to reach these non-buyers. This in turn will ultimately reach brand users as well.